Hello everyone and welcome to the My Greek Island podcast with your hosts
George Tsounyas
and Maria Petrakou.
Now today is the last episode of 2022 and we're talking all things Christmas and New Year with a Greek twist. It is the most wonderful time of the year, isn't it, Maria? Or is it?
Well, I mean, Christmas is quite popular and celebrated in many countries, but we sometimes tend to forget that there are quite a few places and countries that do not celebrate it at all or not as much. So, for example, the Greeks actually tend to celebrate Easter much more than they do Christmas, and New Year's is actually considered a bigger celebration than Christmas is. Isn't that right, George?
True story. And to be fair, my favourite time of the year is summer, not Christmas.
And that's an even bigger celebration, isn't it?
Yes.
But I mean, if this is the first episode of the podcast that you're tuning into, head over and check out the rest of our episodes where we talk about all things Greece and more, and a lot about the summer, right?
Oh yes, and don't forget to follow us on the gram at My Greek Island, where we're fast approaching a new milestone of followers.
Very true. So, for our last episode of this season and this calendar year, we thought it would be interesting to dig in and learn a bit more about the festive season in Greece.
So, without further ado, let's get into today's episode.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast, dedicated to take you, the wanderlust, on a journey through Greece.
There are 227 inhabited Greek islands. Which one will you visit next?
My Greek Island, with your hosts George and Maria. Καλημέρα, George.
Καλημέρα, Maria. Τι κάνεις?
Καλά, καλά, εσύ?
I'm good. I'm feeling really Christmassy, hun. And before we start, should we just take a moment? I know you like all your reflections and self-development, so maybe we should reflect on 2022. So 2022 was the year that we launched our podcast. And apart from that, what has been a personal highlight for you that doesn't include traveling with me?
Well, I mean, what a year 2022 was. I think I was a bit stagnated until the mid-year, and then I think in mid-year I made so many changes overnight that I think some people are still a bit shocked about. I quit my corporate job, so I'm now in a more flexible job that allows me to have more time to dedicate to the podcast. We launched the podcast, but I think that 2022 was also one of the years I experienced a lot of personal growth compared to other years. I did, however, unfortunately manage to slip out of the 5 a.m. club, which you tease me a lot about. But I do plan to be back very soon. What about you, George? Although we do have an episode on one of your biggest achievements. So if you haven't heard the Athens Marathon episode, head over and listen to it. I'm still extremely proud of you and very, very chuffed. But tell us, what are yours?
I mean, my biggest achievement was actually completing the Athens Marathon, which was my first ever marathon and the longest distance I've ever run. So that is my main highlight of 2022. Other than the podcast and the traveling, it was completing the Athens Marathon. So yeah, enough about our achievements though. Let's get back to the topic. Today, we're here to talk all about how Greece, or Greeks around the world, celebrate the Christmas and New Year season.
Cool. So let me start by giving some key background info and just denote that unlike other places that celebrate Christmas and New Year's, Greece has an extra day that they celebrate. So they have Christmas, they have New Year's, and they also have Epiphany, which is on the 6th of January. And the last two, so New Year's and the 6th of January, are actually more important to the Greeks than Christmas Day is. So you usually get exchanges of gifts on New Year's and not on Christmas, although that has gradually changed over time. But I remember growing up, New Year's is when we would exchange gifts in the family and not Christmas. And since we have the Epiphany that's also celebrated, that means that the celebrations do last a bit longer than they do in other countries, like, for example, in the UK. And that also does come with an additional public holiday. Now, fun fact, there's no Santa Claus. Sorry, guys.
Boo!
It's actually, for the Greeks, it's actually a saint called Basil the Great, or Agios Vasilis, as we refer to it in Greek.
That's an interesting fact. And actually, to say that, because I grew up in Greece for the first 10 years, we used to open presents on Christmas Day, because my mum being English, not on New Year's Day. So I was used to open my presents before everyone else, which was pretty cool. So from Christmas until the 6th of January, there are a lot of family gatherings and parties taking place. There is a tendency to gather at houses, to play cards, board games, enjoy lots of food and drinks all together. And people generally, I mean, the Greeks like going out, full stop, but they tend to go out more during this period, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, that's very true.
The streets and the shops are all decorated with Christmas lights, and shops are actually open for longer hours, which is good for that extra bit of shopping. And you can also find some Christmas markets popping up here and there. Now, there is, in recent years, one of the biggest Christmas markets is like a little Christmas village, and it's called the Mill of the Elves, which is in Kalá. I believe it's the biggest concept market sort of its type in Greece, and Kalá is slap bang in the middle of Greece, and we will be posting a link to that on the description.
Amazing.
Let's talk about some food, because we both like food.
So during this time, as during Easter, the festive menu is quite heavily meat dominated, although there is a tendency to fast for some time leading up to Christmas, although it's not as common as it is during the Easter period. More people do tend to fast up to Easter, and you do see a lot of fasting products in the supermarkets during the Easter period, which you won't see as much during Christmas. So the menu is not preset like the UK, where you have turkey with stuffing, Christmas pudding, etc. In Greece, it's usually not turkey, but some type of meat, usually lamb, accompanied with vegetables, etc. One thing, though, is that there's a tendency on the night before Christmas or the night before New Year's to eat soup, a warm soup. Like, for example, the Greek soup avgolemono, which is made from eggs and lemon and usually has rice in it, and some families tend to cut chicken in it as well. It's one of my favorite soups, not necessarily with the chicken, but definitely one of my favorite soups.
And it is much nicer than it sounds. When you put all those ingredients together, people have this like warped vision of what it would be, but it is really nice. Maybe we should do like a little cooking podcast where we like make a dish and talk while we're doing it. Would that be possible?
I'm gonna be really cheeky here, but why don't we bring your mum to do that?
Julagi to do some cooking for us. Maybe. She'd get stressed being on a podcast. Oh my god, I better.
The funny thing is that the most funny thing is though that she listens to every single episode of the podcast, and I actually can't wait until she hears herself being called out on it. But Julagi, we're waiting for you to be featuring you making us avgolemono, which I'm sure she makes an epic version of. But
really does.
I mean, enough about the food. Let's talk about the sweets, as they are much more popular during that season and can definitely be found practically in every house and in every household from Christmas up to the 6th of January, right?
Oh my God, so much. So the two main sweets that you'll find, and I've actually had an overdose of them in the past few years, and I literally can't really have them now. I'm just like, I've had too much. So there's two main sweets that you'll find across in the houses or in bakeries across Greece, and in the wider Greek diaspora, wherever there's a bakery. So the first one is kourabiedes, and they have an Ottoman origin. And the kourabiedes are these delicious sort of buttery Greek biscuit. They're rich in an almond and butter flavor, and also sometimes have rose water in, and they're dusted with ice and sugar. So they're just these like, white dusted balls of yumminess, if we like. They're amazing. They go really good with a warm coffee. You could dip it into a coffee. I mean, that's what I would do. And then the second one, which I think might be more popular, I'm not sure, it depends on people's taste. We'll see what's your favorite. My favorite out of the two, if I had to choose, would be melomakaroná. And these have their roots in the Byzantine times, and they are basically these sweet little honey cookies, and the smell of them being cooked and their taste just reminds you of Christmas in Greece. They're full of cloves, cinnamon, nutmeg, and really do give that sort of smell of Christmas and festivities. My favourite of the two, although this year I'm probably not going to have any because I've had so many in the past. And my mum actually went for a phase of making loads of them, of melomakaroná. I was like, can we just stop now? Because she was experimenting with all these different ones. I was like, I don't want to have these again. I can't taste them again. They're really nice, but you've made too many of them. So, yes. Which one's your favourite?
George, you've really undersold them in melomakaroná because they're really, really nice.
No, they're really nice, but like, when you have too much of a good thing, it was just too much.
Well, then you just need to take a break and try them again next year.
I know. I'm on a break.
We were on a break. My favorite are melomakaroná. Although growing up when I was younger, I loved kourabiedes. I find melomakaroná more exciting to eat now. Although in Cyprus, they have a tendency in the melomakaroná to make them slightly different, and they stuff them either with a whole walnut or a date. And they are insane because I love walnuts, I love dates, I love cinnamon.
Not a fan of the dates.
So the Cypriot version of the melomakaroná for me is just amazing. But yeah.
I wonder what they would be like if you stuffed them with like a chocolate, sort of like a Nutella thing.
Maybe Gilagi idea. For those that haven't picked up, Gilagi is George's mum, and she is a whiz in the kitchen. She's absolutely brilliant. So other than what George mentioned, we also have a cake that we tend to cut either on New Year's Eve or on New Year's Day in some cases. I mean, in my family household, we cut it on New Year's Day, although I know that many people do cut it on New Year's Eve. And in this cake, there will be a hidden coin, and whoever finds the piece with the coin is said to have good luck for the rest of the year. Now, George, I don't know if you do this in your household, but in my family, there was always a tendency for the person cutting the cake to sort of figure out where the coin is and make sure that the person that chose that piece was either one of the children in the family. So we do have a tendency to make sure that one of my nephews gets the piece with the coin. Aww. And they get super excited.
Oh, that's so cute. Well, I mean, whenever I've done it in Greece, it's usually at random. I think I've won it once. I'm not sure what good luck it brought me, but yeah.
So you're not supposed to spend that coin, by the way. You're supposed to keep it in your wallet.
You keep it. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you don't go out spending it.
Yeah, not that you can get much with it, but anyway. Yeah. Moving on, though, let's talk about the traditions. So, tell us a bit about the traditions, George.
So one of the traditions of growing up that I remember very vividly is the Kalanda, and they might have this in Cyprus as well.
Mm-hmm, they do.
It's traditional Christmas carols. That kids will go around mainly in villages. I can't imagine in the big cities like Athens or Thessaloniki this happening, but it could still happen. And children will go door to door ringing on people's, go door to door ringing on ringing on their doors or knocking on their doors and asking the question "Nadabume," which means shall we say, or basically shall we sing you a carol? And then in return, when you sing the carol, you'll get like a sweet, or maybe in the past might get a bit of money into like a little pot that you'll be collecting, and you go around. So I remember going around the village where I used to live and singing Christmas carols. I'm not sure if these days, with intercom or any of those sort of cameras at the door, maybe people just don't answer their doors. But it was a really like cute tradition. Do you remember any of the songs?
Do you want me to sing?
Yeah, like Trigona, Galanda. That's all I remember. I don't remember the rest. I'm not very good with lyrics.
I'll send you a YouTube video so you can learn them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you ever sing them?
Actually not. Not. No, I never went around.
Can you sing? I don't actually know if you can sing.
Oh dear, my God, he's put me on the spot here. I actually can sing, but I'm not going to.
Okay, we need to go to karaoke.
Oh dear
I never asked that question. I mean,
and I woke up
anyway.
this morning to record a podcast episode. But anyway,
yeah. The other one is two friends of mine, Iliana and Angeliki. So shout out to you. When I was talking about this episode, they said you need to mention, which is a really hard word, is the Kalí. So this is like in Greek folk tradition. It has it that there are these little mischievous little hobgoblins, if we call them in English, that would rise from underground, and they would wreak havoc for the 12 days of Christmas. And to make them disappear, there's some odd traditions that you would do. So one would be leaving a colander outside your door, so they would like fall through the gaps. Like, these are not real things, by the way. The next one would be opening your door to like see them out. And the last one would be around the Epiphany, that priests would go, and maybe they still do in some villages. They would go around the houses and bless them with holy water. So yeah, have you heard of that one?
absolutely not.
Yeah, it's a really weird one.
I'm so going to ask my family about this, because I've never ever heard about this before.
Yeah, I'm also going to hold them to account, the two people that told me this, to check they're actually doing these traditions near the time.
And if they still do them.
Oh, yeah.
Or if it was something they did when they were growing up.
I will be checking, because one of them lives near me. And the third one, another random one, is the pomegranate. Apart from just the symbol of fertility, also of fortune and prosperity. So over the New Year, how New Year's Eve, just after midnight, the householder will like stand outside the front door, and then they would break the pomegranate by throwing it over the doorstep. And the seeds of the fruit spread on the floor mean happiness and health to the family. And actually, my aunt does that.
Oh, does she?
I remember seeing, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And also, I'm like, "Is it really the season for pomegranates in the middle of winter?" I mean, they get them from summer. Maybe they're like dried, but I can't imagine it being the season for pomegranate.
I'm pretty sure it's a summer fruit.
Yeah, a bit weird, isn't it? But yeah, it's a quite funny one. I thought I'd mention it. But also, one that is very, very well known is on the 6th of January. On the Epiphany, is that right?
Yes, so on the 6th of January, there's an event that takes place to actually celebrate the baptism of Christ. And on that day in the morning, after the church service, a priest will walk towards a river or the sea, depending on where they are, and he will be followed by people. And there he will bless the water by throwing a cross into it. And then various people will just dive into the water to actually retrieve the cross. So that's quite a popular thing that happens on the 6th of January.
It's quite funny, can I just mention that like, you know, Greeks, when it's winter, like when I've gone to Greece like later in the season, I want to go swimming, like, oh, you can't be going swimming in the sea, it's the middle of winter. But when it's the 6th of January and they're all diving in,
everyone's willing to
with
jump
the priest
in.
There, it's all fine. Even though it's like the coldest time of year.
Yeah,
anyway.
and it's actually quite, the water is actually quite cold on that day.
Yeah, and it's dangerous to just jump into cold water like that, but anyway.
Anyhow, I think one thing that I'd like to mention, George, is that we've already mentioned on previous episodes of the podcast that Greece is very big on celebrating name days. So I thought it would be interesting to just call out 4 of the most popular name days during that period. So on Christmas Day, Christos, Christina, Christiana, or any other variation of the name celebrates. On the 1st of January, Vasilis, Vasiliki, Viki is another, or again, any variation of that name have their name day. On the 6th of January, which is the Epiphany, which is also known as the lights, the fota. The names that celebrate are Fotis, Fotini. And then one that I'm going to mention, although it's after the 6th of January, right after the 6th, on the 7th of January, is a very, very big name day where Yannis is the name that celebrates. And there's a saying in Greek which says, which I'm just going to I'm going to freestyle translate, says that a house without Yanni cannot progress. And what that means is that it doesn't mean that it's not going to progress. What it means is that because every household has someone in the family or the extended family that is named Yanni, therefore it's a healthy household because at least one person in every family is called Yanni.
Literally.
So that's a huge name day. But I just wanted to
and we can see that,
you know,
on the 1st of January, we've got Vasilis and Vasiliki, so Agios Vasilis, which is the Greek version of Santa. And also, what would our listeners say, so any of our listeners that have Greek friends or of Greek origin, what would you say to someone on their name day?
So what you would say on the name day, which is also what you would say on any celebration day. Yeah. So you'd say it on Christmas, you'd also say it on New Year's, you'd say it on a name day, you'd say it on someone's birthday. So it's definitely a good one to keep up your sleeve. Is Χρόνια, πολλά, which literally translates into many years.
Great. So Χρόνια πολλά to all our listeners who will be listening around the Christmas time.
Yeah.
So would you say that Greece is a good place to visit during this season, bringing it back to our My Greek Island travel sort of tips?
Yeah, I mean, Greece is mainly associated with the summer, but do not underestimate it in the winter. There's many things to do and see during that time of the year, even during the Christmas period.
Mm-hmm.
The weather's still actually quite good. I mean, you can get warm days and you do get bright skies and sun, which is absolutely great. So it's definitely somewhere to keep in mind for as a winter destination as well. Although there are areas in Greece which do get cold and you can even go for skiing, for example. But it's definitely, there's a lot to do in the winter as well. So don't underestimate Greece and just think of it as a summer destination because of the islands. You can do a lot of things in the winter as well. Athens, of course, is one of the most vibrant destinations during the Christmas season. And I would definitely say it's worth a visit during the month of December, maybe towards the beginning of December where things are not so mental and hectic. But it's definitely fun to visit. And I actually just got back from Athens a week ago and it's so much fun. Regarding the islands, many of them will not be functional during the winter. So if you want to head to an island, definitely look at the bigger ones, which are fully functional during the period. And I mean, one tip is definitely pre-book if you're heading there for the Christmas season, because as we said at the beginning of the episodes, the Greeks do like to go out. So reservations are probably recommended during that time. And I mean, George, let's touch on a few of our favorite places to go during that time. So,
of course,
where would you, like, if you were to head to Greece over Christmas, where would you go?
Yeah, so before that, I'm just going to go back to what you said about plugging the start of December. It's probably because it's around your birthday and you're always in Athens. So that was a bit of a, people need to be there, and listeners might see Maria bobbing up and down one of the hidden gems that we mention on this podcast for her birthday.
Very true. Well, I mean, that's why I know that it's so much fun, right? Because I do have the tendency to go every year, but it's a very, very fun place to go in December.
Yeah. So in terms of Christmas, I think I would love to spend Christmas one day or 1 year in Arachova. It's a mountainous village at the foot of Mount Parnassos. It's around 3 hours drive from Athens. It is very well known, so I'm not saying it's off the beaten track. As well as having a ski resort, maybe 20 minutes drive from this village, it's also very famous for its local produce and food, but also its nightlife. However, if you're not into kind of you want a bit of a more low-key approach, there are so many restaurants, cafes, and quieter things that you can do. And you can also combine it with the archaeological site of Delphi, Delphos in Greek. How do you say it? Delphi, yeah. And what's really interesting there is that I've been there in February 1 year, and you can be skiing up in the ski resort, 1 hour, and in 1 hour you can be down by the seaside, and it's like 18 degrees, and you've gone from like minus whatever to 18. It's a very good it's very interesting and like juxtaposition of climates. So yeah, that's where I would go. How about you, Maria?
I think in addition to what you said, I would probably add Karpenisi, which is another destination for ski in Greece, and also has a very picturesque village and very good food. Nafplio, which is super easy to get to from Athens and can be quite fun during Christmas. And another destination which I think is beautiful to visit in winter and in the summer is Pylio, which again is quite close to Athens. So all of these destinations you can probably fly into Athens and with a short-ish drive can get to quite easily and have a lot of fun.
Oh, lovely. Maybe we should try them 1 year. Christmas in Greece, Christmas/New Year in Greece.
Just tell me when. Chalet. Just tell me when, and I'm packing my bag, George.
We'll book it in. Okay, so shall we have a look at the Greek words for this episode before we wrap it up for 2022?
Yes. So, we've already mentioned the one, which is Χρόνια, πολλά.
Χρόνια, πολλά.
But I think the other one that we should mention is what you would say to wish everyone a happy new year.
Which would be Καλή χρονιά.
Καλή χρονιά, which means good year.
Good year. What about Merry Christmas?
That's a difficult one, but let's mention it.
It'll be hard to pronounce.
Yeah, it's Kalá, christoúgenna.
Kalá, χριστούγεννα. So let's recap the three. We had Χρόνια, πολλά.
Καλή χρονιά.
Καλή χρονιά, Happy New Year. And Καλά Χριστούγεννα.
Καλά Χριστούγεννα.
Happy Christmas. Or Merry Christmas.
Just before we wrap up, let's wish everyone Καλά Χριστούγεννα και καλή χρονιά.
Καλά Χριστούγεννα και καλή χρονιά from us, from the My Greek Island podcast, on our last episode for 2022. Anything you want to add before we close and wrap up?
That stay tuned because we have already had our planning session for 2023 and we have got a lot of exciting things that we plan to bring in the new year.
So until the next episode,
Τα λέμε.
Τα λέμε. Bye. Right, my Greek Islanders, this comes to the end of another episode of this podcast.
Now you know the drill. If you like this episode, share it to share the love with the My Greek Island community, where everyone is welcome. And
don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. And maybe give us a little rating from wherever you're listening to us from, so you are notified every time a new episode drops. And if you have any suggestions or requests, get in touch.
And for those of you visiting Greece, don't forget to tag @MyGreekIsland on Instagram for a future feature. Until then, see you later, or as they say in Greek,
Τα λέμε.